Well, good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Fernando.
Welcome to the show.
Today we have, something that we've never done before. I know. It's not an F-150 or a Jeep Wrangler. This is a 2021 Porsche Cayenne hybrid. And we're going to be putting a ton of stuff in it and take you along for the ride. Inside the vehicle, we have the giant control center here. And then in the corner of the dash, we have a speaker here, one here, two more in the door, two more in the rear door, as well as this in the back of the vehicle. Hybrid battery, and then the subwoofer enclosure is located right here with the spare tire kit. This is the only space we get for the amplifiers and the processor. The box is going to go up here, which is nice because we don't have any more room. And this thing is getting a ton of stuff squeezed into it. Let's take a look. It's a bunch of brown boxes. Brax DSP, Helix C1 for the two Morel Ultimo 10-inch subwoofers, two more Brax amplifiers, Brax ML1, Brax M3, Brax ML60, as well as a set of Helix P62Cs. To integrate it all into the car, we're going to be using the Nav TV Zen V kit. Now, as we go on through the video, we'll take a closer look at those products. The plan is to get all that stuff in here along with a bunch of sound treatment, custom brackets, and whatever else it takes to get it in here. You ready?
I'm ready.
Where are you gonna start? I'm
gonna start in the door. I gotta remove the door first just to see what's behind it and to get it out of the treatment.
There we go. I'm gonna start in the back of the car, pulling the whole back assembly apart, exposing the factory amplifier, getting the factory subwoofer out, basically removing all of this so I can expose everything behind the panels. The back of the car is now disassembled, and I have to say, though it comes apart, let's say like a Volkswagen or a Jetta, the clips are twice as hard to get apart. Gotta move very slow, very meticulous, working your way through this. It's not an overly complicated thing, but like I said, they're in there to stay. This is where the factory amplifier is located, the Brewmeister amp, this. This is the multi-channel Brewmeister amplifier that we are taking out. This is only one of two amplifiers in the car. This is the second one that powers the subwoofer. This one is the one we are concerned with though, because we're looking for this fiber optic input located right here. That is going to attach to this piece, which is the Nav TV Zen V. Inside this box is a fiber optic cable. This is for vehicles that do not have the factory amplified system. That's right, this can be used in the non-factory amplified. It will interface in with the fiber optic system that is going through the car. In the instructions here, it does explain how that all works, as well as you can go online and download the most up-to-date instructions. There's a USB for communication with the unit for flashing and whatnot. 12 channels of RC output if you are going to be doing RCA, as well as the unit itself. Some of you will recognize this from the Ford videos we do with the Zen A2B. Same case, different software. On the end is a dip switch panel that corresponds to what type of car you have and what type of features you'd like to retain from the factory radio. It also has the wiring schematic. On this there are 4 wires. One is a remote turn on out. Now this remote turn on out is only enough to turn on one thing. If you have a DSP processor that has an output, use that. This to power it up, that to turn everything else on. If you don't have something that has that type, make sure you put a relay on this, otherwise you could damage the unit. There's a purple wire which is for emergency brake, however is not needed for most installs, this one included, a ground and a battery. And then located on the bottom, you'll see this little gray cover here. This is where our factory fiber optic cable is going to plug into. So when you pull this gray piece out, make sure you plug it back into the amplifier to protect the amplifier's factory cable. For this installation, we won't need this because it has the factory amplifier, and we're going to be doing Toshlink out of this to our DSP, so we won't need these either. One thing to note is that they will both work at the same time. If for some reason you want to do a Toshlink and RC output, I don't know why, according to the instructions, both still function. Now, I'm a firm believer in testing, making sure everything works. I don't like a big surprise at the end. Therefore, I have this, which is a Toshlink input to RCA output, plugs into the wall, and this will allow us to test the output of this to make sure that there is signal coming from it. You could also just plug the RCAs into some form of an RTA and do the same thing. Something like the IRTA2 that has the RCA inputs. These could go into here, and you can make sure that you have signal coming out of this before you get really deep into the installation. And for this test, we'll just come out of the output here into this and do the same thing. But before we get on to all that testing, we do need to get this mounted. For right now, I'm just going to set it in place and get our power and ground because I don't know what else has to go on that panel. I'm just more concerned with making sure everything does what it's supposed to do. And then as we're going, we'll figure out exactly where it needs to go. Also remove the running board along this side and up into the passenger footwell where we located our battery. Inside the battery, we're lucky enough to have this screw point right here that we'll be able to use for our 0 gauge ring terminal. Plan is to use this space right here to mount a fuse holder and then bring the 0 gauge up along this side. All of our speaker wires will be located in these two harnesses along with the power wire for the Zen A to B. The other nice thing too is that there are a ton of factory ground points, like this one right here. There's another one over here. There's several along here that we're going to be able to use. Because taking apart this car is not the easiest thing in the world to do, one of the things when taking this car apart that I did notice, this panel comes off, that one, without removing any of this other part of the car. You do have to remove the trunk piece here, this side piece on the other side. That really doesn't need to come off. This carpet piece just kind of slides out of the way, and it makes removing this fairly easy. That means we'll be able to use this space for something. I don't know what yet, but I'm not a fan of putting things in a place where they're next to impossible to get to, or it's going to take me an hour to get to it, just in case there is some form of a service needed. I'd really like to fit the DSP and the 3 amplifiers in this spot. That is the goal. The Zen will go behind there, however, and then it'll be a Toshlink cable down and over to the DSP. Now I just need to make it happen. The Zen is T-harnessed in, Toshlink connector plugged into it. Like I said, it's just hanging out. Eventually it's going to get mounted here. For right now, I just want to test it. IRTA2 is connected to our Toshlink tester. We have it plugged into a portable battery system here. And as you can see, we have signal. Turn the signal down, Fernando. It slowly but surely comes down one at a time. So that is telling us, if nothing else, we have a volume that is coming from the radio that's going up and down with the volume control. So we're good there. I'm excited. I just wanted to make sure that works. With that test done, if nothing else, we have volume coming from the head unit that's going to go into our DSP. When we're done with the total install, we'll make sure that like the backup sensors and the lane departure warnings and all that still come through. We've never ran into a situation where we've had that and not gotten those, but still test for them. There is a chance you may have to go into the software afterwards and turn the volume up on those, which we do quite frequently. Some people wish we hadn't, but you know, you want to make sure you hear the backup sensors. With that out of the way, I can move on to the next phase of this, which is figuring out if everything is going to fit back there and placement for all the equipment that is going into the trunk.